Hello, it's Doug from Behind Closed Doors, and today I'm going to be looking at a video by Ben Shapiro called Jordan Peterson Gives the Best Relationship Advice You'll Ever Hear. Well, that's a clickbaity title if ever I heard one. Let's get into the video.
Part of the reason our eyes are the way they are, they have whites. That's an evolved adaptation so that we can see what other people's eyes are up to.
Interesting.
And everyone who didn't have visual white.
Okay, we're 11 seconds in. I don't know where the hell they are. I don't like this whole setup thing. This is new to me. I didn't know that he did this. So was he got extras in the background pretending to be on a laptop? If Jordan Peterson was sitting in the room, would you really be on your laptop, or would you go and sit around the table and listen to Jordan Peterson? Come on. Why are they setting up this fake environment? Why are they setting up this stage to fake authenticity? It's kind of repulsive to me. I know that Jerry Seinfeld managed to pull it off with Comedians in Cars Get Coffee, but this whole idea of sitting around having coffee together, you might as well just have a coffee in a studio. With Jordan Peterson, he provides such riveting content that you don't need a big glamorous set. It detracts from it. It's distracting. This whole veneer of, oh, we're just really sitting down for a drink and there's not really cameras around and people pretending to do stuff in the background, I don't like it.
We can see what other people's eyes are up to.
Interesting.
And everyone who didn't have visible whites either died or was killed or didn't mate. Right? And so I want to see where you're...
There's a book called The Case Against Reality by Donald Hoffman, and the subtitle is How Evolution Hid the Truth from Our Eyes. And in chapter 2, it's specifically aimed at beauty, the sirens of the gene. And I'd really encourage, because Jordan Peterson has gone on a lot about truth, especially with Sam Harris. They've battled over what is true and what's not. And he's saying, say the truth or at least don't lie. But according to Donald Hoffman, it's fitness. Evolution by natural selection identifies fitness functions, not necessarily truth functions. That's hence the title, Why Evolution Hid the Truth from Our Eyes. We can't see truth. That would make us go extinct. We can only see fitness functions that help us survive and reproduce. It's survival of the fittest. It's not survival of the most true. And the misconception is fit perceptions are true perceptions, when obviously that's not true. Us magic tricks wouldn't exist. And I was a magician for 25 years, so I know a little bit about illusions.
I want to see where you're pointing your eyes, because you're devoting a tremendous amount of cortical energy to that value specification. And if I can see what you're pointing your eyes at, then I know what you value. Then I can mimic your body with my body, and we can fall into the same, what would you say, the same
rhythm.
game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the same rhythm. Attention
flows where the nose goes. So if I look at something in my hand over here, my nose is essentially, oh, what's happening with my light? Okay. See, my visual perceptions are quite astute. So when you pay attention to something, so if I look over here, people's attention will look over here because of what the fuck is going on with my light? All this talk about visual perception, and my camera's not even right. I could literally talk about direction of attention and visual perception for hours, but I'm not going to, because I want to crack on with this video.
And there's a beautiful thing in the beginning of Genesis. So the phrase that's used when it talks about Eve and Adam is before. So it's really fascinating. I mean, the whole thing is really beautifully symbolic. That Eve never receives a name until after they're kicked out of the Garden of Eden. She's called just the woman until that point, and then he names her, right? He first names her and he says, she will be called Isha, right, which is a derivative of Ish, which is the same word, just add a hey at the end, because that's how he sees her. She's a derivative of him. She's just an object for him to use. And that's why she ends up talking to the snake, because if you're seen as an object by somebody, why would you want to talk with them? You're not an independent human being. And it's only
That's
after...
why you don't want to dance with someone who only has sexual gratification on their mind.
Exactly. And then she sins, they're kicked out, and then he renames her Eve, right? Adam calls her Eve.
Okay, so
because
hold
she's
on.
the mother of all
the first name is given by who? Adam?
There's a lot said there.
Adam. So he's naming all the animals.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then it says that.
And that's giving them a reality, a semantic reality.
Right, and then God says none of these partners and Adam can't find a partner.
Right, they're not suitable.
And he says, so I'm going to give you a helpmate.
You need a woman, not a dog, not a pet dog.
Exactly. He says you need a helpmate, but the phrase that's used is ezer kenegdo. So it's translated helpmate.
Yeah.
What it actually means is a helper against you.
Oh.
That's what it actually means in Hebrew. Ezer kenegdo, right?
So there's an adversarial element in there.
Yeah, when it comes to pickup artists and stuff like that, they call it a shit test. And when I've spoke about this before, what they're really doing is they're testing the respect that you have for yourself. They're testing your self-respect to see if you're of any substance or not.
Because what makes you a
there's
better
this
person
idea
is the adversarial element.
There's this idea in neurophysiology called opponent processing. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's to get more accuracy.
Your hand really smoothly this way. You can do it like that. But it's nowhere near as smooth as if you do this. You can be absolutely precise. So you really tense this hand against this hand, and then this one relents a little bit. It's absolute precision. And so that adversarial process, you imagine that women and men are slightly different temperamentally, or even quite a bit different. Well, you're trying to hit the mark, but the mark moves. And so how do you hit it? Well, you hit it with this adversarial process. And you do that with kids, and when you're negotiating in the house too. It's like, well, you think this, and I think this.
And that's why when you fundamentally refuse to acknowledge the difference between the sexes, you lose the ezer kenegdo part of that. You lose that opposition that's necessary.
That's also,
I'm not really reacting much to this in terms of making observations about it, because this is a very dense, this has only been on for like 3 minutes and 20 seconds, but there's a lot of dense information in here that I could really take apart, but I don't really want to, because I've still got 8 minutes left of the video, so I want to see what it really gets into, where this is leading to.
see, my wife has a more masculine temperament than me, and she's really low in politeness, which is an aspect of agreeableness, and it makes her quite formidable.
Just a bit of a side note. When I did the Jordan Peterson personality test, Understand Myself, I got my 2 best friends to do it, and even though we all have completely different personalities, the thing that we all had in common, exactly the same, it was freaky, we all had exactly the same level of politeness, which is probably why we're friends, even though we have completely different personalities.
Combatant, and sometimes in our life she'll say things that are so outrageous that, well, it usually makes me laugh. It's like in an intense fight, she'll say like 3 of the worst insults you could possibly imagine, and it'll make me laugh. And it's hard sometimes to deal with her because of this more aggressive element. But it was also something that really attracted me towards her, because she's no pushover, and she's got this she's got a kind of a knife-like sense of humor that comes out quite often. And so I really like the combative element to it. And that's part of what keeps a relationship dynamically alive. So that's very cool. So that's the first name?
So he first calls her Isha, and says, because God's going to give her his ezer kenegdo. And then, after the whole element with
and he
snake,
okay, so God says he's gonna deliver this. What's the word?
Ezer kenegdo, right? So it's a helpmate.
Right, but it's an adversarial partner.
Yeah, the word kenegdo literally means against him, right?
Wow,
it's going to be
so
ezer,
cool.
helper, against him, right?
Okay.
Because you would think that love and romance is a very collaborative endeavour, but it's also a very combative one. And there's a thing by David Attenborough I was watching the other day with my girlfriend called The Mating Game. And if you watch that and how animals are in nature, it's amazing we're civil at all.
And then Adam
calls her Isha, right? Because she's flesh of my flesh, she's bone of my bone, which is how a man sees a woman when the woman is just an object to him, right? Because she's mine, right? It's my possessiveness of her that defines her as a human being.
That's pretty much how the animals acted.
And the word woman, just like in English, is a derivative of the word man, right? It's ish, which is spelled aleph yud shin. It's the same spelling, you just add a hey at the end, and now it's Isha, right? So she's going to be called woman because I'm called man, so she's,
she's a secondary derivative.
She's a secondary derivative of me.
Right, which is how a man would understand a woman. It's like she's like me except smaller.
Right, exactly. Right. And then once she starts to bear children, then he calls her Chava, right, Eve, the mother, which is the same root of.
Usually when I watch a lot of this stuff, it's kind of regurgitating what I already know and putting it into a different order. But in this conversation, I'm actually learning something, because I'm not that well versed in religion.
You have the image of Mary, and that's pretty maternal, but in Christianity, Christ is also the redeemer of women, and that's an adventurous hero in some sense. It's like, so the female situation is complicated, right? Because there is this adventurous spirit, but it has to be combined with this maternal fecundity, let's say, and involuntarily. Well, what I really liked about Beauty and the Beast, and I do think that's the best Disney movie ever made, was that it's a real female hero myth.
That's quite a profound thing for him to say, because he usually talks a lot about Pinocchio, so I would have thought that would be his favourite.
The woman, Beauty, is beautiful, so she's high up in the female dominance hierarchy, but she's witty and well-read and intelligent and adventurous and brave and courageous and truthful, all of that. And she doesn't fall for Gaston, the psychopathic persona. And young women are much more likely to fall for men like that, by the way, than women who are slightly more...
Yeah, especially feminists.
What would you say?
Mature.
Wiser. So they'll fall for dark triad men, and that's partly how psychopathy propagates itself across the generations. Right? They can be enticed by psychopathic personas. But she prefers the beast.
Peterson also refers to, I think it's called 1 billion wicked thoughts. Yeah, and that goes a lot into that. And you think, why are women attracted to like murderers and things like that? And it's a lot to do with protection, which is linked to security for offspring.
It's like, well, the beast is the adventure. It's like, well, is this terrible man, you know, like he's...
I don't think the beast was a terrible man. I saw it years ago, so I can't really remember much of it, but I thought he was a bit of a... I felt a bit sad for him, really. I don't think he was a terrible man. I think the terrible man would be the Gaston, the psychopathic one.
He's rough, he's unhewed, but he's got potential, right? And that's what really attracts her. And she wants someone who can guard the walls and make a safe haven for the children, but who's generous enough who's productive enough to be useful and generous enough to share.
That's an excellent way of putting it. The thing I never got about Beauty and the Beast was, it was his house. She came to his house and she started changing loads of shit. And he was quite happy being miserable, all by himself. And then she came and was trying to, no, you don't eat your dinner like that. You've got to look like this, look like that. And it's like, for fuck's sake, look, if you don't like it, there's the door. I didn't invite you around.
And so she civilizes him. And that's, you know, you say, well, that's the female hero myth. It's like the civilizing of men is the female hero myth. And the civilizing of nature, in some sense, is the male hero myth.
And to pretend that that's like a secondary pursuit, which is what the society says, that like what we should value is, in a certain way, feminism is a construct of the patriarchy.
It is. There's basically, the world is made up of families, and at the top you have the powerful families, and at the bottom you have the disenfranchised families. And the families at the top created feminism in the middle to use women as an excuse for Marxism. Feminism is essentially the planned destruction of the family home. It was meant to do three things. It was meant to take the father out of the family home, tax women for their labour because they couldn't do that with housewives, and make sure that the children are indoctrinated by the school so they're not raised by the family, so that they're indoctrinated in how to think. They're the three main elements, and they've all been achieved using the family court system, which has decimated the family home. It takes a man and a woman to have a baby, and it takes a man and a woman to raise a baby. And the family court system don't care about children. They care about property and profit. And the family court take the father out of the family home and replace it with the state.
Because they're completely, and it's modern guys, because the notion is, well, the men have got it all right, and all we'd have to do is for women to be more like men.
Right, exactly.
That's your aim.
This whole stuff about getting women to be more like men and men to be more like women, and it's just bullshit. There's differences between men and women, and we should respect and admire those differences, not try and compete.
We have a real question in our culture. We have a more elaborated narrative of, let's say, call it masculine heroism, and a more differentiated sense of masculine totalitarianism as well. The female role is still somewhat undifferentiated, and I think that's partly not acceptable anymore because women have control of the reproductive function now.
Yeah, but they always did do. I know that you've got the pill and all that kind of stuff, so they've got a lot more conscious control over it. But attraction isn't a choice. So they've always had unconscious control over it because of sexual selection, even though it probably wasn't a conscious choice. Because really, it's not women that are sexually selecting. It's nature that is sexually selecting fitness through women's feelings. It's almost like an algorithm.
So a lot of this has to become conscious. It can't just happen automatically.
Women don't choose who they desire. They're kind of possessed by desire, and they follow their emotions, and that's what they're designed to do. And even if somebody's not logically a good match for them, they still might pursue them. Because nature is smarter than people think, and there's a much greater ecosystem at play here. Attraction isn't a choice. Desire is not a choice. It's something that possesses you. What is a choice is about what you act upon, and you can choose who you love. in spite or despite of your desires.
Right. No, I mean, that's right. And so at a time when the virtues of femininity need to be taught more than ever, they're being taught the opposite more than ever. Because you have to opt into this feature of humanity, where before you didn't have to opt into it. It was going to be forced upon you, right? I mean, as long as you were going to engage in sexual activity, you were going to experience the joys of motherhood.
Right.
And you were going.
Yeah, everyone had their role, and now the roles have been destroyed. So now you can be whatever you want to be. And it sounds like a great idea because now you sound free, but you're not free because your role has been predetermined by nature. It's not been socially constructed by the environment. And all this crap about, oh, men can have babies too, it's all bullshit. Men can't get pregnant.
To have to play this role, but now you no longer have to, which means that you actually have to be taught that there's value in the role in order for you to embrace the role.
And you have to be willing to notice that within without seeing that as only part of you in your peculiarity and not as something regressive.
Yeah, you have to kind of be sold something that is naturally in your instincts to want. Because what they've done is they've said that you have instincts as a person, and they've said that no, your instincts aren't correct. These are your instincts, equality, and that's all bullshit. So I don't think you have to sell it as much. You've just got to take away all the conditioning and the propaganda.
Somebody clipped something I said and put it on one of those YouTube shorts. It's like 3 minutes long. It's got, 8 million views or something. And they called it Advice to 19-year-old Women. And so what I said in this brief video was that, okay, so we'll go for another minute, was that...
I mean, why did that guy just interrupt Jordan Peterson? This whole idea of this setup that he's got here is just... I'm sure somebody came up with the idea and they spent loads of money on it, but it's just crap. It's just, why are you going to interrupt Jordan Peterson? What, for a coffee or to pick something up? What, you think that improves the conversation? Distractions and interruptions?
For another minute, was that I've worked with women as peers my whole life. So I was part of the first generation, I would say, and certainly in my profession in psychology, there's been a plethora of women, certainly since before I entered the field. So I've worked with women as peers my entire life. And I worked, even before that, I worked in the daycare branch of Alberta Social Services and as a consultant, and that was mostly women too.
You see, all these women have been sold this idea of a career, like that's the dream, and it's a load of bullshit. I've had a fantastic career. Like I said, I was a magician for 25 years. I really enjoyed my job. It was my dream come true. I couldn't have wished for anything better. I had amazing adventures, and I lived out all the things that I wanted to do, and it was nowhere near as fulfilling as being a father, as being a parent. It's the most rewarding thing. And I'm a guy. So I don't understand why women really believe that having a career instead of a family is a better option. Obviously everyone's different and people have different personality types, and you're going to there's going to be various different things. But really, I mean, that we're designed to survive and reproduce. Our survival in the West has pretty much been taken care of, and it has been for some years. And so all that's left is reproduction. And so now they're messing around with it so much, and it's such a shame because, like Elon Musk said recently, you're going to need to make people. And at the moment, not enough people are being made. I know that everyone keeps saying about the global population stuff and all that. He's saying the exact opposite. He's saying there won't be enough people left. We need to start having babies. But now that women have the conscious choice to be able to choose their mates more selectively, and they're now in a global sexual marketplace because they can go on Tinder or Bumble or Instagram and pick up a guy from various different parts of the world. It's not just localized to where they're able to travel. They can travel all over the world and have sex with various different statuses of men. Whereas before it was localised to where they could travel to, which wasn't far because of transportation and the internet wasn't about. So it's not just the pill that has revolutionised everything, but also the internet has revolutionised everything, and transport. And now women have too much choice, and they're less satisfied because of fear of missing out, and they think they could get a better guy somewhere else. And it's just all bullshit.
So, and what I noticed about women, and this I really was struck home to me when I worked with high-end lawyers in Toronto, because I worked with the best law firms in Toronto for 10 years with their best lawyers. They would send them to me, some other people that were involved in this enterprise, and our deal was, we'll increase the efficiency of your high-end lawyers by 10% in terms of billable hours, but we work for them, not you. And so then I had about 15 of lawyers like this come and see me. They were skeptical to begin with, but we got over that pretty quick. And some of it was management discussion, some of it was strategy, some of it was sorting out their marriage, work-life balance. Like, it really depended on the individual, as it should in the therapeutic session. But we had a lot of discussions with the women, because the law firms lost all their women in their early 30s. And the story was always the same. So
because you can't have both. Women have got a finite amount of time in order to be able to get a mate and settle down. Now, if they want to put a career in on top of that, it's crazy. The whole thing is ridiculous, because they can't compete with men in that way, even if they are as talented. They can't do that and have a family at the same time. You've got to kind of pick one, because really life is for the young. It's for people up to about 40. It's only because of antibiotics we can live to like 80 and stuff. So they've really got a window of about 20 years to be able to get a mate and settle down and have a family and raise a child. So you can't be doing that and going out and trying to get a successful career in the same time bracket. It might be better to get a career later on in life. So settle down when you're young and have a family young, because then you've got the energy for children as well, because no one ever talks about having energy for children. Like, children, especially if you've got a sick child, they can keep you up all night. It's a young person's game. You get to 45, you don't want to be getting up in the middle of the night and stuff. What seems to be the best thing is to have a baby when you're young, raise a child, and then when your children leave home, you say you're 40 years old by then, now you can get a career, because you got from 40 to 80 to have a career, and you don't have to worry about doing the whole family thing. So if you're going to have a career in the second. So if you're going to have a career and a family and try and do both, I'd say it'd be better to have a career later on in the second part of your life. That makes the most amount of sense, because there's no point in trying to have a baby between the age of 40 and 80. But you can have a career during then, and you'll still be fulfilled, because then you'll have grandchildren as well. So it makes sense to me that if you're going to be a woman and you want the best of both worlds, have a family young and have a career when you're older. And also you've got more time to train while you're a stay-at-home mum or whatever. So it makes sense. So when you do go into profession at the age of 40, you'll have a 20-year advantage.
The same. So these women who became these top lawyers, they all had the same story. They're hyper-conscientious and very, very smart. So they were top of junior high, top of high school, top of their class in college, went to a great law school, top law school class, they went to a great law firm, and then they walked through the legal ranks till they hit senior partner. No, like blinders on, like conscientious people will have. I'm going to attain up this pyramid.
The only thing then, time's running out.
Then they'd hit 30 or so when they hit senior partner, equivalent of tenured professor, and then they woke up and thought, what the hell am I doing here? I'm working like 80 hours a week, 75 hours a week, flat out.
Yeah, why?
Because you don't get to that level unless we're performing.
That's great if you're a guy, because it means that you're high status, but men don't really care about high status women. Like, having a job and education doesn't really mean anything to them in terms of attraction towards a mate. You know, they want somebody that's young, fertile and loyal.
And you get a call at 2 a.m. from some client in China who's got a corporate merger. It's like, you're awake and on it.
Right.
And you put that on top of everything, or you don't get paid $750 an hour. And you say, well, that's the patriarchy. It's like, no, it's not. It's the market.
And absolutely, it's the market that determines what work needs to be required. And like Jordan Peterson said in his interview with Kathy Newman, that's mostly women. So again, you still can't say it's patriarchy. I'd say it's more to do with, again, going back to it, I'd say it's more to do with families. So yeah, that was an interesting video, and it covered a few different things. But I would encourage Jordan Peterson, if anyone can get in touch with him, or if anyone knows him or anything, to get him to read The Case Against Reality and speak with Donald Hoffman, because I think that would really help out, because he always talks about truth, and it's not quite truth, it's fitness. And he goes into the fact that we don't see reality, we don't see truth, we're incapable of seeing it. So we can only engage with an interface. If Peterson had a chat with him, I think it would really fine-tune some of his ideas about consciousness and reality and how the two relate to one another. Hello, my name is Doug and I've created a video tutorial called What to Message a Girl for Online Dating Success. The reason why I've created this product is to help those men out there who are dating online but are not getting the replies or getting the dates that they desire. My product will teach you what to message a girl, what not to message a girl, when to message a girl, how to respond when you're not sure what to write, what to do if she doesn't reply, how to get her phone number, and how to communicate to get online dating success. If you're getting matches and no success, this product is for you. It's what you need to do today to start getting success with your matches. I'll also be talking about other issues such as how to spot red flags, identify time wasters, to stay out the friend zone, how to deal with ghosting, simmering and icing. Not only will I be giving you exactly what you need, copy and paste, I'll also be explaining to you the reason why I'm writing what I'm writing so you can understand the psychology and know what behaviours to look out for and which ones to avoid. This product is packed with value. I've tried to cram as much as I can into a short amount of time as possible while being the most informative. If you're a man and you're confused and frustrated with what to text with online dating, this product is the solution for you to get more dates in less time. Click the link in the description box below to buy the product and change your dating life forever.